I think it was 61 Olympics. The fact that, what they had to go through to be in the Olympics. And I'm not really advocate of Black Panthers or anything like that, but the fact that, I feel like they were still competing and racism was a huge thing at that point in time. So, and they were just showing that it doesn't matter, we're going to stand together anyways. I'm a dark horse. I'm a rebel. I'm never going to give up. I know exactly what I want. I'm ready to compete. I'm ready to win. I'm ready to tell anyone my story. Like North Carolina, a lot of the kids start wrestling when like 4 or 5 years old. You start off in 9th grade saying, let's just try something different. It just took 1 year and I was done with everything.
You skated from like 3 to 13, international.
Switching sports, it was hard. It was the first thing I won in the skateboard competition when I was like 13.
And then you started wrestling in 9th grade as a freshman in high school.
Way back when, that's where it all started, right there. Mount Tabor.
Wrestled for about 9 years, and now you're on the international level again.
I know, that's the first time I've ever really put that in perspective. I remember my old roommate Chip said, man, knowing your attitude, knowing your work ethic, I feel like if you would have kept skating, you could have been one of the better people I've ever seen skateboard.
How long have you been wrestling then?
As of now, 9 years.
Is that typical for third in the nation?
NCAA, I took third. Usually when I tell people I've been wrestling, I started in 9th grade, they're usually shocked.
Whenever you recruited him, did you know that he'd only been wrestling since he was a freshman in high school?
Yeah, I did. Yeah, he's very inexperienced, but he also has for growth.
Because if you keep shooting, you're going to get what you want. It's going to happen.
I came here to glorify God and show this no wrestling. If that means I gotta win matches, tell people I glorify God, then so be it. It's always been in the back of my head that if I ever get a chance to tell people why I wrestle, I'll make sure to tell them I do this because this is my ministry. I do this to glorify God. And I'm not perfect. I don't claim to be. I've done bad things. Like, I've done terrible things, but it's in Latin. It says, "Tame abunt, me exaltibus, me salvator in feros portis," which means, let my name be feared at the gates of hell as I exalt the Savior. I may see it as something that's just wretched and terrible, but there's a bigger picture of why things happen. Yeah, I got nuts and bolts in my ears, squeeze my ears. The first book of James, chapter 1, verse 1, it says that James is a bondservant of the Lord. And there will come a time in a bondservant's life when he has fulfilled his duty as a bondservant. And his master has the ability to let him go, to let him go free. But if a bondservant likes his master and he loves his family, he has the choice of staying with him and serving him forever. So what the master would do was take his ear and put it on the door and put a nail through his ear. And what that would show is that he's a bondservant for the rest of his life, and he will serve his master until he dies. So what I did is just put screws in my ears just to show that I'm a bondservant of the Lord, and I'm going to serve him for the rest of my life. No matter what happens, I'm still going to glorify God. I'm still going to give him the glory. It's a fish, but it's a skeleton fish. He's smiling, and it has the ichthos on it, I-X-O-I-E, iota, chi, theta, upsilon, sigma. It's in Greek, which means Jesus Christ is God's Son, Savior. That hasn't changed because wrestling might not be in the Olympics in 4 and 8 years. That hadn't changed. That's not going to change the fact that Jesus died on the cross. I feel myself sometimes being like, "Oh God, please, I don't want this to happen. Can you help me out? Help me out. Help me so this doesn't happen." Or so I don't have to deal with this situation anymore. He's probably my biggest supporter. My dad, he bought his tickets. I mean, probably in November of 2011. He couldn't go. He didn't tell me why. He just said that he couldn't go to the tournament. He's going to all of my matches that he can go to. So there's a good reason for him not going.
Hard-fought 1-0 win over Steinhaus. Wow.
After the national tournament, I saw him. He told me it's like the reason I wasn't able to make it to the tournament is because your will be done. I pray that I become stronger Christian because of this situation. I found out in January that I have cancer. So I'm not going to ask you to necessarily change it, but change me in that situation. I just hugged him and started bawling. Like, he just hugged me and said, "It's gonna be all right." I want to be more conformed into your image. I want to do what you would do in this situation. Like I broke down pretty bad. I mean, and my dad's sick. He told the coaches, and he told my minister, he told my coach back home. They all knew.
Austin's dad called me in January and told me that he had been had a tumor looked at on his chest and it ended up being cancerous, and he also asked me not to tell Austin.
He said, "I don't want my well-being to be the reason you don't succeed at this tournament."
You know, it just says a lot about his father and how much he loves Austin.
This is my MLW trophy. I glued from a NYAC tournament. I glued most of it back together. I had some spray paint. I still got it, but I haven't got around to it yet. So
it got smashed in the mail.
It got smashed, but it'll be all right.
Like I said, it's my last year. You said it yourself. Been here 5 years, so it's time to step up and let something happen this time. I lost Joe LeBlanc at the Reno tournament by like 8 or 9 points.
What's your favorite book, man?
In this collection, Always Ready. It just answers a bunch of questions from people who are skeptics, who just are not exactly sure why they should put their faith into the Bible.
Alright, so Trotman got the first takedown, and then you let him back up, and then you got the second takedown. And then, you kind of started looking at that mat, noticing, hey, this number 1 seed, 3-time All-American just got taken down twice. And then when he got the third takedown, that's when the announcer even announced over the whole arena. They're like, Trotman's up right now, 60.
And I'm sure he just wrote me off like, I just beat this kid by 9 points.
And knowing winning that match guaranteed All-American.
That moment in the quarterfinals when he was putting it on LeBlanc, the number 1 seed, you could tell in the third period, I kind of started to notice it, that there was the crowd was just in shock.
I wrestled that match and I got like 4 takedowns in the first period. And then ended up winning by 2 or 3 points.
Appalachian State into the semifinals. Austin Trotman, the senior, set the tone, and he holds on for the 3-point win. Nobody picked that. Kind
of one of those moments where you kind of feel like that finally, you know, you get some gratification for some of the hard work and the blood, sweat, and tears that's been put in.
I like to say I'm an Ali fan, just because it's confidence. I mean, I think there's a difference between being conceited and being convinced. I think he was fully convinced that he was the best. And he came across sometimes as very arrogant, but I think it was just more him being fully convinced and no one could beat him.
Austin Trotman, upset of the tournament so far, upsetting the number 1 seed Joe LeBlanc. 4 first period takedowns, dominating right out of the gate, and he storms back into the match. Talk about the third period and what you had to do to win that one.
First of all, I don't believe in upsets. I was a better wrestler today.
The first thing he said was, how does it feel to upset the number 1 seed? And the first thing, I mean, it was almost like, I don't want to say it was an insult, but I told him, I'll tell you the truth, I really don't care. I don't believe in upsets.
I think it just shows how confident he was. I mean,
he didn't step out there like a man thinking he was going to lose.
Looking forward to the semifinal. Do you even look at who you have as your semifinal opponent?
Doesn't matter. My coach in high school, my coach now says my opponent is nameless and faceless. And if you wrestle glorify God, the rest will take care of itself.
I remember my coach Bentley, was like, "You're not done wrestling yet."
I actually had a couple of coaches from Team USA, or from USA Wrestling coaching staff, had approached me out there before the tournament was over. It was like, "Hey, what's Trotman going to do when he gets finished? You know, is he interested in continuing to wrestle?"
Well, a lot of my plans definitely changed after March, after the NCAA tournament.
Here with Austin Trotman, just won a gold medal here at the New York Athletic Club tournament. Beat a Russian in the finals. Talk about your wrestling today and how well you felt you competed.
Well, I mean, I've been training extremely hard since Nationals has been out. I mean, training the App State, I've been training in Colorado Springs.
The Olympic Training Center is in Colorado Springs. And I went out there and trained for a whole month after I graduated. I mean, 2 days after I graduated, I was out in Colorado Springs training again. There's 2 styles of wrestling in the Olympics. It's freestyle and Greco-Roman, and I'm doing freestyle wrestling. So what I did in college and high school, I won't do that style of wrestling anymore. I still want to wrestle. I want to be an Olympic champ. I want to be a world champ. So that's what the goal is. You know, that hadn't changed, even though IOC is trying to get rid of the oldest sport.
Wrestling is being counted out for the 2020 Olympic Games. Tuesday, IOC leaders voted to drop it as it came up with its list of 25 core sports for those games.
Somebody posted on my wall, my Facebook wall, because they knew I was training for the Olympics. Like, "Yo, man, you seen this article yet?" And it was talking about dropping the Olympics, or dropping the wrestling out of Olympics. I didn't want to believe it. It's like something I've put so much work into, to think that this could be it. Well, if that's true, I only got one shot, and this is it. You know, my theme song, I would say "Go Hard" by Lecrae. Talking about being sold out and giving it all up for Christ. Just go hard in everything you do. You gotta give it all you got right now, just because this is the only one I get.
Lord, kill me if I don't preach the gospel. Still in my 20s, but I die if I got it. Man, I'm already dead. Get my flesh. I done been crossed over. See the full court press. I'm a full court mess if the Lord don't use me. Running from my trials, thinking everything's groovy. The cross don't move me, then I don't wanna breathe no more. If I ain't seeing Christ, partner, I don't wanna see no more. Rep them every day without worrying about a bruise. And I've been to China, man, I seen some real persecution. If you didn't know know Christ, would your life look the same? Can they tell you value Jesus by the way you rep his name? Hey, what's the point of living if I'm living for myself? Lord, empty out my life before I put you on the shelf. So for God I go hard, I don't wanna die tonight, but it's too many people living who ain't heard about the Christ. Flow.